What is up guys, Stark here. I am back for day 24 of the 25 Days of Fate, and in today's video I am doing the character spotlight for Miyamoto Musashi. Now I do not usually do character spotlights for characters that aren't really out in the game yet, but I'm going to start and try and do the character spotlights for the events that are coming, so you guys have more time to get information on the character, and Musashi's banner should be coming out next, so today's spotlight will focus on her. So she is going to be a 5-star Saber, and she is, in my opinion, the best Saber in the game, and hopefully this video will help, demonstrate why I believe that. And for her stats, she's going to have 13,635 HP and 12,037 attack. This will rank her 26th overall in HP and 10th overall in attack. For her star absorption, she has 100, and her star generation is 10%. And her normal Phantasm generation is going to be 0.87 on the attack and 3% on defense. So if you do want to compare her to Okita Soji, who would be the current best 5-star Saber in the game, and the stats match up pretty evenly. Musashi ranks slightly lower than Okita in attack. Okita has 12,068 attack and Musashi has 12,037. So they're about the same there, and then Musashi has 13,635 HP, and Okita has 13,225. So Musashi has higher HP, slightly lower attack, although that difference is very negligible. So yeah, they're about the same, attack-wise, stat-wise. As for their crit absorption, Musashi has 100, Okita Soji has 98. And their star generation is Okita Soji at 10.2% and Musashi at 10%. So again, they're pretty much identical, although Musashi will win out on this in the end, and I'll talk about this in a little bit. As for their Noble Phantasm generation, Soji has 1.9 on her attacks, 3% on defense, and Miyamoto has 0.87, so Okita gets a little bit of an advantage in the Noble Phantasm gain, although once again, I will talk about how Musashi can beat Okita in this as well once we talk about her skills, which is going to be right now. So first up for her skills is going to be a very unique skill called the 5th Sequence A, and this will double the number of hits Musashi does on her normal attacks. However, this will reduce the damage of those, the amount of damage you do per hit, by 50%. However, it will also increase the amount of damage you do on those normal attacks. So this is a little bit of a confusing skill where you reduce your own damage as well as increase your own damage, but once you think about it, it's really not that difficult to understand. You have one hit of 1,000 damage, so to speak, and you'll cut that in half, so you'll do 500 on each of your hits, and that's where the 50% comes in play. So instead of doing 1,000 damage on each hit, you're doing 500 damage on each hit instead. So it evens it out. You're still doing the same amount of damage, it's just split over the course of the 2 hits. And then the third skill will further increase that damage, so you're effectively getting a bonus to your damage as long as it's level 2 or higher, because level 1 you get 0% damage increase. So hopefully that clears it up. It was very confusing for me as well, so I had to make sure I had it right before I started talking about it. Anyway, this skill is really good for numerous reasons. Obviously you get the extra damage at level 10. It's going to be a 30% increase to your damage overall. But the main thing that shines about this skill is the double hits, and double hits means double Noble Phantasm generation and double crit generation. So right there you're going to be doubling your stars, doubling your Noble Phantasm generation, and this is how Musashi can eclipse Okita as far as stats go for being able to generate her Noble Phantasm and get stars. It's a fantastic skill. You could theoretically get her Noble Phantasm from 0 to 100% in one turn using this skill. So you could use your Noble Phantasm on the previous turn and then use this and then get it back. And that's pretty awesome considering her Noble Phantasm is phenomenal. We'll talk about that in a little bit when we get there. But yeah, this skill is awesome. It's very unique. It's exclusive to her. Next up for her second skill is going to be the Heavenly Eyes A, which will allow her to ignore invincibility for one turn, as well as increasing her own Buster Card effectiveness for one turn. So this is really cool. You could just use this, combo it with your other attacks, get a 50% increase to the Buster Card effectiveness on a 5-turn charge time, which is going to be very awesome, and you can ignore invincibility, so you can make sure your attacks hit, those pesky enemies that like to hide behind their invincibility. And then finally we have the Emptiness A, which will grant her invincibility for one turn, remove her own debuffs, and increase her own star generation rate for 3 turns. So this will give you a 30% increase to your star generation for 3 turns. And this is going to be really nice. You can combo it with her first skill, so you'll be able to generate a lot more stars and then absorb them back, which will help you get more crits and get your no Phantasm generated faster. And all in all, it's going to be a fantastic skill to use. It's going to be on a 6-turn charge time as well, which isn't really that bad overall. And you do get a ton of defense with the invincibility and removing debuffs. So overall, she has a fantastic kit of skills. Obviously, it's more suited for offense than defense, but she still does have a little bit of defense in there as well. And, you know, she is kind of a glass cannon type of character, but she does have that little bit of defense to kind of make it so she's not as much of a glass cannon as some of the other characters in the game. But you are able to combo her with quite a few different servants. She does pretty much rely on her own skills to get by. You can use a few different servants to help her along the way. First up is going to be Merlin, who, yeah, now he's out, so he's going to show up on these videos pretty much all the time. So yeah, Merlin and Waver are really good options for obvious reasons. You know, Merlin will give you the Buster card increase, get the extra stars, and, you know, he's just fantastic. Merlin, you know, get Noble Phantasm generation, get attack increase, defense increase, critical damage increase, so you could do more crit damage when you get the stars. Fantastic, you know, those are always going to be in play for good servants to use. Some other servants though, and I'm going to try and include a few free-to-play servants as well as a few of the banner servants. But yeah, so you have Wolfgang as the first one, or Mozart. He's primarily there because he can generate 50 stars with his 3rd skill at maximum level. So that is going to be tremendous for Musashi. Being able to get 100% crits on her attacks is going to be obviously insane. And you can use that to get her Noble Phantasm generated in 1 turn. So it's a really good combination. You know, he does also increase arts card effectiveness, and Musashi doesn't really have that. She only has 1 arts card. But you're going to primarily use him for the stars, so it's a good option there. Another good option is William Shakespeare for his Buster card increase. You know, anytime you're using a Buster servant, he's always a option to go ahead and throw on there. Now, obviously, if you have Merlin instead, or if you have Merlin available, then you're going to probably opt for Merlin instead. But, you know, sometimes we don't have Merlin. Some people, you know, they didn't get him, and they don't want to take him as a friend, or maybe you're using Musashi as a friend and you need to find something to put on your team with servants you have available, and Shakespeare is a pretty good option there as well. So now let's jump on to her passives, and she only has 1. It's going to be the Magic Resistance A, which will increase her debuff resistance by 20%. Moving on to her Ascension, her first Ascension is going to require 5 Saber pieces and 100,000 Quantum pieces, and this will also unlock her Heavenly Eyes skill. Her second Ascension will require 12 Saber pieces, 22 Proof of Heroes, and 300,000 Quantum pieces. Her third Ascension will require 5 Saber Monuments, 10 Octuplet Crystals, 5 Eternal Gears, and 1 million Quantum pieces, and this will also unlock her Emptiness A skill. And then her fourth and final Ascension will require 12 Saber Monuments, 10 Eternal Gears, 5 Heart of the Foreign Gods, and 3 million Quantum pieces. And then for her skills, to max out a skill from 1 to 10, you are going to need 17 Gems of Sabers, Magic Gems of Saber, Secret Gems of Saber, 15 Octuplet Crystals, 44 Proof of Heroes, 48 Void Dusts, 15 Primordial Lanugos, 1 Crystallized Lore, and 54,400,000 Quantum pieces. So on the topic of leveling up her skills, I would definitely level up 5th Sequence first. There's a fantastic skill being able to increase your hit count, and by default increase your crit and your Noble Phantasm generation. So that's really good, and then you also get your damage increase there, and you really want that damage increase because at level 1 you're not going to get any increased damage, and at level 10 you'll get a 30% increase to your overall damage. So in my opinion, that is the skill to max as soon as possible. After that though, I definitely want to max out Heavenly Eyes for the Buster card effectiveness increase, and then finally you're going to go with Emptiness A for the crit star generation increase. You could choose to opt to go for Heavenly Eyes instead of 5th Sequence to get the Buster card effectiveness first, but really there are a lot of other characters that can supplement that, and you still do start with a 30% increase to your Buster card effectiveness at level 1, so that's why I put it slightly below 5th Sequence overall. Moving on to her command card deck and her Noble Phantasm. For her command card deck, she has 1 Quick, 1 Arts, and 3 Busters, and the hit counts are going to be 3 on the quick, 3 on the arts, 2 on the buster, and 4 on her extra attack. So obviously, you know, she's a pretty offensive oriented servant, and she has 3 buster cards to back that up. So she's going to be able to make a lot of buster chains and do a lot of damage, which is awesome. And her Noble Phantasm is going to be buster as well. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut into the video for her Noble Phantasm, and then I will be right back so we can talk about it a little bit and what it does. I'm also going to show the old animation and the new animation, starting with the old one and then going into the new one, just so you guys can see, you know, all the animations that she has. Alright, so we're back, and she has a pretty darn awesome Noble Phantasm, if you ask me. It is one of my favorites. I know I've recently made a video of my favorite Noble Phantasms, and when I make this video next year, I am expecting her to be really close to the top of that list. You know, both the old and the new animations are absolutely fantastic, and it's just another reason why I love this character. But what it actually does is it will do damage to one enemy and remove their buffs, and on the overcharge it will increase her own Noble Phantasm damage for 1 turn. And this Noble Phantasm will hit extremely hard. It is one of the strongest Noble Phantasms in the game. It is the strongest Noble Phantasm, I believe, for sabers in general. Once you get it to Noble Phantasm level 2, I think Bride Nero does a little bit more damage than her overall. But yeah, it's so strong, it's going to do a ton of damage, and as I said before, you can actually use her Noble Phantasm not 2 turns in a row. It would be like you'd use her Noble Phantasm and then you would get it back, and then you would use it again the next turn. So I think I did say you could use it back-to-back turns doing her her combos, but you can't actually do that unless you're using like skills or something to get her gauge filled. So I do apologize for that, but I know 2 Noble Phantasms in 3 turns is going to be pretty awesome anyway. So now moving on to some of the craft essences you could use on this character. First up is going to be her Maximum Bond craft essence, which is going to be the Buddha of Emptiness. And while equipped, this will increase Noble Phantasm strength by 30%, as well as apply debuff immunity for 3 times. So this is really nice. Get a Noble Phantasm increase and get, you know, immunity debuffs is really nice, really helpful, but probably not something you're actually going to use. You're probably going to want to use a Buster card increase craft essence on her to increase her overall damage. So she has so many Buster cards. It's probably a good option to use. And first up is going to be the first Sunrise. And I have this one on there because this one actually comes out with Musashi. So anyone who's going to be pulling for Musashi is going to have a good chance of getting the first Sunrise along with her. And it's a pretty good one as well, being able to increase your Buster card effectiveness by 15%, as well as starting the battle with 40% of your gauge filled. Next up is going to be the Victor of the Moon, which will increase your Buster card effectiveness by 10%, as well as increasing your critical strength by 20%. So if you do want to forego the 40% increase to your gauge at the start of the fight and opt for critical damage instead, then this is going to be the craft essence for you. And if you want to just focus on increasing her Buster card effectiveness overall, then you can go ahead and use the limited 0 over to get the 25% increase to your Buster card effectiveness. So now moving on to her overall review and her star rankings. For her stats, she's going to get 5 stars. She has some of the best stats in the game, especially for the Saber class. And yeah, not much else to say there. For her skills, she's also going to get 5 stars. She has a fantastic kit of skills that will be able to do a ton of damage overall, including her first skill, which is extremely unique and it's very good as well. So you can do a lot of things with her, and yeah, it's pretty awesome. Her Noble Phantasm is also getting 5 stars. It is one of the strongest in the game, especially for the Saber class. For her survivability, she's going to get 4.5 stars. She does have the invincibility and the removed debuffs, and it's a pretty good HP overall. But more often than not, she's going to be more of a damage dealer than a defensive character. So she does lose a couple points there, but overall, you know, I really can't take too many points away from her. That invincibility is going to be very helpful, as well as removing the debuffs. So yeah, she should be alive pretty long in the fights without too much help needed. As for her versatility, I'm only giving her 4 stars here. Her skill set is primarily centered on her. She doesn't have any support skills or anything like that for allies. So, you know, you do lose a few points there just because you can't really plug her into every team. But at the same time, you can use her on a lot of teams because she does take care of herself, and she doesn't need too much help from outside characters in order to get by. So you could use her pretty much on anything you want, unless you're going up against archers, and then maybe you want to question your decision there. But overall, she is a fantastic servant who can find her way onto a lot of different teams. And in my opinion, she is the best saber in the game, getting an overall ranking of a 4.7 out of 5. You know, top of the list, top tier for sabers, top tier overall in general, at least for now, for me. And she's definitely a servant I will be going to try and get when she does roll around in the beginning of the year. So that's it, guys. I made a few little changes you guys probably noticed to the character spotlights, so I hope you did enjoy the little tweaks I made. And if you did like them, then I'll just continue doing them as I progress in the character spotlights. But I did hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And today is the last chance to enter for the Fate Grand Order giveaway, so the link will be in the description below. So if you haven't done that, definitely make sure you do that. Again, this is the last day to enter that. You know, tomorrow will be the giveaway video, so I'll be doing that live on Twitch. So, you know, definitely make sure you got in there. All you have to do is post a comment on the video. It's very simple, it's very easy, and why not just go ahead and give yourself a chance to win some free Saint Quartz or whatever else you want to use it on. But yeah, that's it, guys. That's all I have to say. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.